We came here to talk about the Freddie Gibbs album with Alchemist. It's a moment this year, and when we talk about the backdrop of these protests, to see how relevant the written material in this and the topics were
It's
in
kind of
this,
spooky.
yeah, because George Floyd dies on the 26th. This comes out on the 29th. So you have to think this was written over the course of the month or months that were before this. So to see lines like "the revolution is a genocide," "my execution might be televised,"
Yeah,
to see something that like
yeah.
fitting
I
just
mean,
days after.
yes, it is fitting, but this has been happening for many, many years. So at the same time, it is fitting that Freddie dropped the album now, but also not really, because this is just things that he could have said 10 years ago too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because this is just a thing that has happened to Black people forever now, right? You know, since the dawn of time, right? I think I saw a first, like, New York first issued its first curfew like in 1940. You know why? Because people were protesting a murder of a Black man by the police in 1940. Something, yeah, it was like in the 1940s, something like that. So, like, if Freddie Gibbs is just going by history, right? He's not going by what he thought, would happen, right? Uh, he's not predicting his death like Tupac was on the Machiavelli album.
Yeah.
He's just going for right. But I'm not taking away from Freddie. Freddie's the best rapper alive in my opinion, but he's just going on based on history, like what's been going on forever now. So I mean, that lyric is always relevant, always pertinent. So
Yeah, so this one comes out with a little more punch in the promotion. It was a quick drop. I think 2 days before it dropped was when it got announced. There wasn't much of a murmuring of this coming out. And there wasn't I've talked about this on here too, there wasn't a lot of music during quarantine, less than I would have expected. So this kind of comes out on the back end of it with just an enormous amount of hype in 2 days, 1985 drops. And the way it fits the moment. I mean, you said to open this, it was a spookiness to that almost. With the George Floyd situation, the Last Dance references on here were very
yeah,
fitting, and it just had such a relevance to the moment. And I think it befitted the quarantine album as a whole, because it just kind of sounds like the musings of Freddie Gibbs as these months and months are going by, and we see him documenting it on Instagram Live with his kids. We see him in the studio with Rabbit, and the whole cult of personality of Freddie Gibbs is just encapsulated on this.
yeah,
He reached his peak too as an
exactly,
artist.
exactly. I think that one of the things about rappers, especially when they hit their prime, is that you always find that on top of the music, they always have a following, a unique type of personality, right?
Yeah.
So like Ghostface Killer's, Ghostface Killer, right? He's Tony Stark's. He's talking about food a lot. He's talking about the finer things in life, right? You got Freddie Gibbs and his personality on social media. He's getting banned on Instagram. He's doing this and that. He's dissing his baby mama. So so I think I think that he's not only reached his peak as an artist, he's also reached his peak as like a figure, right?
Did you see he released the hats with all his taglines from Instagram there, whether it's "the fuck" or
Yeah,
"bitch,"
I
and
saw that.
you hear those
But
catchphrases on here even more too than you
I
have in the
got some.
past.
By the way, I will like to say, Alfredo has some of the best like merch of recent memory, in my opinion. The
For
merch
sure.
is sick. Yeah, I got two shirts. Like the merch, they've been doing a great job with the merch.
Yeah, that quote too that I opened up with earlier had its own shirt,
Yeah.
and I might buy the "fuck" hat. Why not? Uh, so yeah, I mean those catchphrases are more present on here. Um, the build up with him has just been amazing to watch, because he comes on the scene probably around 2009, right? Much different rapper than he is today. He's had so many different projects before
Yeah.
Pinata broke him out, and the transformation where I see these three phases of him, where he's prolific technically, he doesn't take himself too seriously, and he puts stuff out there at a high rate, not like a future rate, but I mean, 3 albums in 3 years is more
But
than
I
you
think
get
that's a
from most
good thing, right?
guys.
Because I think, as a big Future fan, like I think that he could use like a year or two off. you, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good thing that Freddie's working at a reasonable pace, but not a pace where it seems like he's oversaturating himself.